My brother scheduled his gender reveal on my wedding day, called it just a party. The spring sunlight streamed through the boutique windows as I twirled one final time in my wedding dress. 3 years of planning, countless Pinterest boards, and enough savings to make my bank account wince, all for this perfect moment just 5 days away. "Emma, you look stunning," my maid of honor, Leah, dabbed at her eyes. "James is going to lose it when he sees you walking down that aisle." I smoothed my hands over the delicate lace bodice, hardly believing this was real. After 7 years together, James and I were finally getting married at Willow Creek Manor, the venue we'd been dreaming about since our third date. Everything was falling into place. The garden ceremony, the string quartet, the sunset reception under twinkling fairy lights. This wasn't just a wedding, it was the culmination of our love story. "Let's celebrate with lunch," Leah suggested after I carefully changed. One last girls' outing before the big day. Over salads and champagne, we reviewed the final details, checking off the never-ending wedding to-do list. My phone buzzed repeatedly, my mother with yet another question about seating arrangements, the florist confirming the final bouquet count, James sending a sweet can't-wait text. And then my brother Jason called. "Hey sis, quick question about Saturday," he started, his voice oddly casual. "What time does your thing wrap up again?" I laughed. "My thing? You mean my wedding? The biggest day of my life that we've been planning for 3 years?" Yeah, he chuckled. "Just trying to figure out timing. We're having a small party at our place around 6. Nothing major." The champagne paused halfway to my lips. "This Saturday? As in, my wedding day? What kind of party?" "Just a little get-together. No big deal." Something in his tone made my stomach knot. "Jason, what aren't you telling me?" A pause. Too long. "Well, Amanda and I were going to wait to announce it, but we're having our gender reveal that evening. Just close family and friends." The restaurant seemed to tilt around me. I gripped the table's edge. "Let me get this straight. You're having your gender reveal party on my wedding day? The one date I've had locked in for 3 years? Come on, Emma. It's just convenient because everyone will already be in town. We figured after your reception ends, people could swing by. 2 celebrations in one day." Leah watched my face darken and mouthed, "What's wrong?" "Jason, my reception doesn't end until at least 11 that night. How could you possibly think this is okay?" "Look, it's not a big deal," he said with that dismissive tone I knew too well. "Your wedding is just one day. This baby is the future of our family." My blood turned to ice. Just one day, 3 years of planning, thousands of dollars, the most important commitment of my life, reduced to just one day compared to his impromptu gender reveal. "I have to go," I managed, ending the call and immediately dialing my parents. Mom answered, her voice distracted. "Emma, dear, I was just about to call you about the seating chart. Did you know about Jason's gender reveal? On my wedding day?" A pause. "Oh, that, yes, he mentioned it yesterday. And you didn't think to tell me? Or better yet, tell him it's completely inappropriate." "Honey," her voice took on that placating tone that made me feel 5 years old again. "It's just a small gathering after your wedding. The timing makes sense since everyone will be in town." "Mom, people will leave my reception early to make it to his party. How can you not see the problem?" "Emma," my father's voice now. He must have taken the phone. "Your brother is giving us our first grandchild. This is a momentous occasion for the whole family. Can't you be a little flexible? It's not like he scheduled it during your ceremony." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "So my wedding is less important than a party where they pop a balloon filled with pink or blue confetti?" "That's not what we're saying," Mom interjected. "But this baby is the future of our family. Your wedding is important too, of course, but..." The but hung in the air, shattering something inside me. In their eyes, my milestone would always have a but attached to it. "I have to go," I said for the second time that day, hanging up before they could respond. Leah reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "What happened?" As I explained, her expression shifted from confusion to outrage. "That's insane. They can't do that." "Apparently they can, and my parents are completely fine with it." The realization stung worse than the actual party. They've always favored Jason. I guess I just didn't expect them to be so blatant about it 5 days before my wedding. I picked up my champagne glass, staring at the bubbles rising to the surface. Each one felt like a dream dissolving before my eyes. The perfect family photos I'd imagined, the joyful reception full of dancing relatives, the speeches about love and new beginnings, all of it now tainted by the knowledge that half my family would be checking their watches, eager to rush off to my brother's celebration. "I won't let this ruin your day," Leah declared, her jaw set with determination. "If they want to be awful, that's on them. But you're still gonna have the most beautiful wedding." I nodded, forcing a smile that didn't reach my eyes. "You're right. This is still my day with James. Nothing can take that away." But as we finished lunch and parted ways, a seed had been planted, not just of resentment, but of awakening. For 29 years, I'd been accepting crumbs of attention and affection from my family, always understanding, always accommodating, always second place to Jason's whims and achievements. Maybe it was time to stop accepting the crumbs. Little did I know, this wasn't just about a ruined wedding day. It was the first domino in a sequence that would reshape my entire life and eventually deliver the most satisfying revenge I never knew I needed. The following days unfolded like a psychological thriller I never signed up for. My phone buzzed incessantly, not with well wishes for my upcoming wedding, but with family members attempting to convince me that sharing my special day was somehow reasonable. Wednesday morning, Mom called while I was reviewing final details with my wedding planner. "Emma, sweetie, I think you're overreacting about Jason's little party," she began, without even a hello. "It's after your reception. Most people will have already celebrated with you for hours." I pressed my fingers to my temple, feeling the start of a headache. "Mom, people will leave early. You know that, right? They'll be checking the time during our first dance." "Well, that's their choice, isn't it? You can't control what people do." Her tone was light, as if explaining something simple to a child. "Jason and Amanda are so excited about sharing their news. Can't you just be happy for them?" "I am happy for them. I'm not happy about the timing. There are literally 364 other days in the year they could have chosen." "Emma," she sighed dramatically, "be the bigger person. That's all I'm asking. The bigger person." How many times had I heard that phrase throughout my life? When Jason broke my science project in 3rd grade, when he invited his friends to my 16th birthday dinner and monopolized the conversation, when he announced his engagement during my college graduation dinner, always, I was expected to be the bigger person, which really meant making myself smaller. I ended the call with a vague promise to think about it and tried to focus on the seating chart, but the hits kept coming. That afternoon, Dad stopped by my apartment unannounced. "Princess," he said, using my childhood nickname that now felt hollow, "your mother's pretty upset. I think we need to find a compromise here." What kind of compromise can there possibly be? They either have their party on my wedding day or they don't. He settled onto my couch, making himself comfortable as if preparing for a long negotiation. "What if they delay their announcement until after your first dance? That way, the important parts of your reception won't be affected." I stared at him in disbelief. "So you're not here to support me, you're here to negotiate on Jason's behalf?" "I'm trying to keep the peace in this family," he replied, his voice hardening. "Your brother and his wife are starting their family. This is their first child, your future niece or nephew. Would it finish you to share a little spotlight?" "This isn't about sharing spotlight," I said, my voice trembling, despite my efforts to stay calm. "It's about respect. They didn't even ask me. They just announced it and expected me to be fine with it." "Well, you're not exactly being reasonable about it," Dad countered. "Amanda's mother is flying in specially for this. Arrangements have been made. And my arrangements? The ones I've had in place for 3 years? Those don't matter?" Dad stood, shaking his head. "I thought you were more mature than this, Emma. Family supports family. That's what we do." After he left, I called James, who was furious on my behalf. "Want me to talk to Jason, man to man?" "No," I said, though I appreciated his offer. That would only make things worse. Thursday brought the most brazen move yet. Amanda, Jason's wife, showed up at my final dress fitting. "Emma, you look gorgeous," she gushed, her hand resting on her barely visible baby bump. "I have the most amazing idea." I braced myself. "What if we cut the cakes together? You know, your wedding cake and our gender reveal cake? It could be this beautiful symbolic moment, the 2 biggest milestones in our family happening together." The seamstress pinning my hem looked up, sensing the sudden tension. You want to cut your gender reveal cake at my wedding reception, I clarified, certain I'd misheard. Yes, wouldn't that be special? 2 celebrations in one. Your photographer could capture both moments. I met her eager eyes in the mirror. Amanda had always been sweet, if somewhat oblivious to social cues. But this crossed a line from oblivious to offensive. No, I said simply, that won't be happening. Her smile faltered. Oh, well, I just thought… Amanda, I understand you're excited, but this is my wedding day, not a joint celebration. Her expression shifted to something surprisingly calculated. I thought you'd be more understanding, especially since your parents already think you're being selfish about the whole thing. And there it was, the manipulation laid bare. They'd been talking about me, painting me as the villain in their narrative. My parents said that? My voice was steady despite the hurt blooming in my chest. Well, she backtracked slightly. They just mentioned you were being difficult about the timing. Several relatives have already told us they're excited to come to our reveal. Aunt Kathy even said she might leave your reception a bit early since she has to drive back Sunday morning. Each word was another brick in the wall being built between me and my family. As Amanda continued making her case, I caught snippets of conversations happening in other corners of the bridal salon, whispers about the bride whose brother is stealing her thunder, and sympathetic glances from the staff. That evening, I received a group text from my cousins discussing carpooling between events. On Saturday, my own wedding had been reduced to one of 2 obligations they needed to fit into their schedule. James found me crying in our bathroom that night, clutching my phone with white knuckles. I always knew they favored him, I whispered as he held me, but I never thought they'd be so blatant about it. And the worst part? They've somehow convinced everyone that I'm being unreasonable. You're not, James said firmly. And our wedding will still be beautiful, with or without people who don't respect what this day means to us. As I fell into an uneasy sleep that night, a strange calm began replacing my hurt. This wasn't just about a wedding day anymore. This was about a lifetime of being sidelined, of my feelings being dismissed, of being gaslit into believing that wanting basic respect was somehow selfish. For the first time, I saw my family with complete clarity, and what I saw made me realize that after Saturday, nothing would ever be the same again. Saturday dawned with the perfect golden light I dreamed of for years. Despite everything, a flutter of excitement pushed aside the knot of anxiety that had taken up residence in my chest. This was still my wedding day. Nothing could take that away from me. My bridesmaids arrived at the bridal suite at Willow Creek Manor bearing champagne and pastries. For a few blissful hours, I forgot about Jason's party as we got our hair and makeup done, laughing and reminiscing about college days and first dates with James. You're the most beautiful bride I've ever seen, Leah said, adjusting my veil. And I'm not just saying that because I have to. I studied my reflection, hardly recognizing the glowing woman staring back. My dress was everything I'd hoped for, classic, yet unique, with delicate lace detailing that had made me cry at my first fitting. In that moment, I felt invincible. Then my phone chimed. A text from my cousin Beth. Can't wait to see you today. Just confirming Jason's thing starts at 6, right? Trying to figure out when to slip out. Just like that, reality came crashing back. Ignore it, Leah commanded, snatching my phone. Today's about you and James. Nothing else. I nodded, trying to recapture that feeling of joy. The ceremony was scheduled for 2 p.m., followed by cocktail hour and reception, until 11. Plenty of time to celebrate without worrying about Jason's event stealing my thunder. Or so I thought. The ceremony itself was perfect. Walking down the aisle toward James, seeing his eyes fill with tears as he watched me approach. It was everything I'd imagined. We exchanged vows beneath an archway of white roses and eucalyptus, the spring breeze carrying their scent across the garden. For those precious 30 minutes, nothing existed but us and our promises to each other. It was during the post-ceremony photos that I first noticed something was off. My aunt and uncle were checking their watches. Dad seemed distracted, constantly glancing at his phone. Even Mom, who should have been basking in the moment, appeared anxious to move things along. Could we maybe speed this up a bit? She asked the photographer during family portraits. We have quite a tight schedule today. The photographer, confused, looked to me for direction. We're right on time according to the timeline, she said. Did something change? No, I replied firmly, catching my mother's eye. Nothing's changed. Please continue as planned. The cocktail hour began at 4:30, and that's when the exodus started. At first it was subtle, a few relatives making rounds to say quick congratulations before slipping away. Then I overheard my cousin Mark tell his wife, "Let's get through the dinner quickly. We need to be at Jason's by 6. By the time we entered the reception as Mr. and Mrs. Porter, I could already see empty seats where family members should have been. Dinner was served at 5:30. The caterers had prepared a perfect menu of locally sourced spring vegetables, herb-crusted salmon, and roasted chicken. But my appetite vanished when I noticed my parents huddled near the exit, whispering urgently. Dad checked his watch, then approached our sweetheart table. "Honey, your mother and I are going to step out for a bit after dinner," he said, not quite meeting my eyes. "Jason's reveal is starting soon, and as grandparents-to-be," he trailed off, perhaps finally registering the hurt in my expression. "You're leaving my wedding reception?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "For a gender reveal party?" "We'll be back for the cake cutting," Mom interjected, suddenly appearing beside him. "It's just that Amanda's parents came all the way from Arizona, and we should really be there for the actual reveal moment." James reached for my hand under the table, squeezing it in silent support. "Mr. and Mrs. Peterson," he said calmly, "with all due respect, this is our wedding day. We've been planning it for years. Jason's party was scheduled last week. Now, James," my father started, his tone condescending, "family obligations can be complicated. You'll understand someday." Before James could respond, I cut in. "Go," I said, surprising even myself with how steady my voice was. "If that's your priority today, then go." They hesitated, perhaps expecting tears or pleading. When none came, they mumbled awkward congratulations and left, promising to return in no time. Our first dance was scheduled for 7 p.m. As James led me to the center of the dance floor, I tried to focus solely on him, on the way his eyes never left mine, on the warmth of his hand against my waist. But I couldn't ignore the half-empty tables, the conspicuous absence of almost my entire family. "I'm sorry," I whispered against his shoulder as we swayed to our song. "For what?" he asked, pulling back to look at me. "For this mess. For my family ruining our day." James shook his head. "Nothing is ruined. We're married. That's all that matters." But as the song ended and we moved to cut the cake without my parents, who despite their promise had not returned, I felt a cold clarity washing over me. The room that should have been packed with celebrating loved ones was noticeably sparse. My father wasn't there to give his toast. My mother missed the bouquet toss. Even my childhood friends who'd grown up with both Jason and me had chosen his party over the remainder of my reception. By 9 p.m., when the dancing should have been in full swing, our wedding had turned into an intimate gathering of James's family, our closest friends, and a handful of colleagues. The beautiful venue with its twinkling lights and flowing champagne felt too big, too empty. As I stood near the dessert table, watching the scattered groups on the dance floor, my cousin Beth returned, slightly tipsy and smelling of cheap confetti poppers. "You missed it," she gushed, grabbing a petit four. "It's a boy." Jason literally jumped into their pool, fully clothed, when the blue smoke went off. Everyone was screaming. "Your parents are so excited. Your dad actually cried." Something hardened inside me at her words. I could count on one hand the number of times I'd seen my father cry, and my wedding ceremony wasn't one of them. "How nice," I replied mechanically. "I'm so glad everyone could be there for such an important..." Beth, oblivious to the ice in my tone, nibbled her dessert. "Yeah, half the family's still there. They're breaking out the good champagne now." As she wandered off, I caught James's eye across the room. In that moment, something unspoken passed between us. An understanding, a decision. This wasn't just a disappointing wedding day. This was a revelation about my place in my family's hierarchy of priorities. And as the remaining guests danced under the stars, I made a silent vow to myself. This would be the last time I'd ever be made to feel secondary in my own life story. The remaining hours of our reception passed in a blur. I danced, I smiled, I cut cake with James, all while something fundamental shifted inside me. By the time we climbed into our getaway car at midnight, confetti in my hair and sparklers lighting our path, I had made up my mind. I was done being an afterthought in my own family. We spent a blissful week in Bali for our honeymoon, deliberately unreachable. No phones, no Wi-Fi, no family drama, just crystal waters, private beaches, and each other. I told James about my decision on our third night there, as we sipped cocktails watching the sunset. "I'm cutting them off," I said simply. "All of them." James studied my face carefully. "Are you sure? That's a big step." "I've never been more certain of anything," I replied. "I've spent my entire life making room for everyone else's needs and feelings while mine get trampled. I'm done." He took my hand across the table. "Then I support you. 100%. It won't be a dramatic exit," I continued, having thought it through. "No big confrontation, no angry phone calls. I'm just fading out." They showed me exactly where I stand in their priorities. Now I'm showing them where they stand in mine. And that's exactly what I did. When we returned home, there were dozens of missed calls and texts. Not apologies, but demands for wedding photos, complaints about certain aspects of the reception, and bizarre requests to send thank you notes to Jason and Amanda for accommodating our wedding date with their reveal party. I responded to none of them. Our originally planned post-wedding brunch had been canceled since half the family had left for Jason's party, but my mother still expected us to attend Sunday dinner the weekend after our return. "Sorry, we have other plans," I texted, then silenced notifications from her number. When my father called about helping move some furniture the following weekend, James answered and politely explained we were busy. When Jason texted to ask if we wanted to see ultrasound photos, the message went unread. 2 weeks after our return, James and I made another unexpected announcement. We were putting our house on the market. "But you just bought that place last year," my mother protested during one of the few calls I actually answer. "Why would you move now?" "James got a fantastic job offer in Seattle," I explained, which was true, though he'd received it months ago and had been working remotely. "We're excited for the change." "Seattle? But that's so far away. What about family gatherings? What about when the baby comes?" "I'm sure we'll visit occasionally," I replied, my tone pleasant but distant. "And there's always video calls." The hurt in her voice might have swayed me once. Not anymore. That well of guilt and obligation had run dry on my wedding day. We sold our house within a week in the hot market and packed everything with ruthless efficiency. I donated most of my childhood keepsakes, keeping only what truly mattered to me. Photos with family went into storage rather than our new home. Christmas ornaments with daughter and sister inscriptions were given away. I was erasing not just my physical connections to them, but the emotional ones too. The day before our move, my mother appeared at our nearly empty house, eyes red from crying. "You haven't returned my calls in weeks," she said, standing awkwardly in the barren living room. "I didn't even know when you were leaving. I had to hear it from Leah's mother at book club." "We've been busy," I replied, continuing to wrap glasses in newspaper. "Too busy for your family?" "Emma, I don't understand what's happening. You've been acting so strange since the wedding." I set down the glass I was holding and looked at her directly. "Have I? Or have I just stopped pretending everything is fine when it isn't?" "If this is still about Jason's party—" "It's not about the party," I interrupted. "It's about a lifetime of being treated as less important. The party was just the final proof I needed." "That's ridiculous," she sputtered. "We've always loved you the same." "Love isn't just a feeling, Mom. It's actions. It's choices. And time after time, your choices have shown me exactly where I stand." She tried several more angles: guilt, anger, even threats about being cut from inheritance, but I remained unmoved. By the time she left, tearful and frustrated, she understood that something had fundamentally changed, even if she couldn't accept why. Seattle welcomed us with misty mornings and new beginnings. I took a position at a marketing firm that had been courting me for months. James thrived in his new office. We bought a modern townhouse with a view of Puget Sound and filled it with new furniture, new photos, new memories. I changed my phone number, my email address, even my last name professionally, taking James's earlier than I'd planned. Emma Peterson vanished, replaced by Emma Porter, someone unburdened by decades of family baggage. The few times relatives managed to find me through social media, I responded with brief, polite messages that revealed nothing about my life. I sent generic birthday cards to my parents but made excuses for every holiday, every gathering. I existed in their world as a ghost, present in name but absent in every way that mattered. 6 months into our new life, I discovered I was pregnant. It should have been the moment I reached for the phone, eager to share the news with my mother. Instead, I told Leah, who had remained a loyal friend through everything. I told James's parents, who had always treated me with genuine warmth and respect. I told my new colleagues, who threw me a surprise lunch celebration. I did not tell my family. Let them hear it through the grapevine, I thought. The same way I'd heard about every major development in Jason's life since our wedding through distant connections and third-hand gossip. My mother finally broke down and left a tearful voicemail on my new number. Obtained, I later learned, through persistent harassment of one of my cousins. "Emma, please," her voice cracked. "Whatever we did, we can fix it. The family isn't the same without you. Jason asks about you constantly. Dad isn't sleeping well. Please come home for Christmas, at least. We miss you." I saved the message, but didn't return the call. The funny thing about cutting toxic people from your life is how quickly you begin to thrive in their absence. Without the constant need to make myself smaller to accommodate my family's preferences, I grew in ways I never expected. My career blossomed. My marriage deepened. My confidence soared. And somewhere deep inside, beneath the hurt that was slowly healing, I waited for the moment when they would truly understand what they had lost. 14 months into our Seattle life, my daughter Lily was born, 6 pounds of perfection with her father's dark hair and my stubborn chin. As I held her in the hospital, surrounded by James and his parents, I felt a completeness I'd never known before. This was my family now, the one I'd chosen, not the one I'd been born into. I posted a single photo on social media, more out of courtesy to distant friends than any desire to broadcast my joy. Within hours, my inbox flooded with messages from relatives, including a particularly desperate one from my mother. "Emma, I'm a grandmother and I didn't even know. Please call us. Please let us meet her." I archived the message along with the others. The wall I'd built wasn't coming down, not even for my daughter's birth. We settled into life as parents, navigating sleepless nights and first smiles. James took paternity leave, and we cocooned ourselves in our townhouse, learning how to be 3 instead of 2. I'd never been happier. Then came the call that changed everything. Not to me, but to Leah, who remained my tenuous connection to my old life. "Have you heard about Jason?" she asked one evening, her voice uncharacteristically hesitant. "No," I replied, bouncing Lily on my hip as I prepared dinner one-handed. "What about him?" "The baby, he was born with a congenital heart defect. They didn't catch it on the ultrasounds. He needed emergency surgery right after birth." Something cold slid down my spine. Whatever my feelings toward my brother, the thought of a newborn suffering hit me hard as a new mother. Is the baby okay?" I asked, sitting down suddenly. "He's stable, but they're facing months of hospital stays and more surgeries. And that's not all." Leah paused. "Jason lost his job last month. Something about company restructuring. They have medical insurance through Cobra, but the out-of-pocket expenses are astronomical. Your parents are helping financially, but it's straining everyone." I said nothing, processing this information. The golden child, the favorite son, the one who could do no wrong, now facing the harsh realities of life without his usual safety net of privilege. "There's more," Leah continued. "Your mom asked me for your address. They want to reach out directly. I didn't give it to them, but, Emma, they sound desperate." After we hung up, I stood at my kitchen window, watching the Seattle skyline blur through unexpected tears. Not tears of sadness or guilt, but something more complex, the release of waiting for a validation that had finally arrived. They needed me now. After a lifetime of being an afterthought, I had become necessary. I didn't reach out, but I did start quietly following the situation, through Leah and occasionally through my cousin's social media. A GoFundMe for baby Nathan's medical expenses. Updates from the children's hospital. Photos of my parents looking older, more tired than I remembered. 3 weeks later, the first letter arrived at our home address, which they had clearly gone to great lengths to obtain. My mother's handwriting, shaky but familiar. "Dearest Emma, I don't know if you'll read this, but I have to try. Your nephew Nathan is fighting so hard, and Jason and Amanda are crumbling under the medical bills. The house you grew up in is now on the market. Dad and I are downsizing to help them financially. I understand now what you meant about choices showing where priorities lie. We made terrible choices with you, especially around your wedding. There's no excuse, only regret. But Emma, your family needs you. Not just financially, though any help would be a blessing, but emotionally. Jason asks about you constantly. He keeps saying if anyone could help them stay strong through this, it would be you. You were always the resilient one. Please call, even if just to hear Nathan's voice. With all my love and deepest apologies. I folded the letter and placed it in my desk drawer next to the ultrasound photos of Lily they'd never seen and the birth announcement they'd never received. 2 days later, my father called James's cell phone. After 15 months of silence, his voice sounded like a ghost from another lifetime. James, I know I have no right to ask this, but is she there? Will she talk to me? James looked at me questioningly. I shook my head. I'm sorry, sir, James replied, firm but not unkind. Emma's not available. Please tell her. My father's voice cracked, an unprecedented sound. Tell her Jason's baby isn't doing well. The doctors are suggesting experimental treatments not covered by insurance. We're selling the lake house, but it's not enough. Whatever happened between us, whatever we did wrong, please don't punish an innocent child for it. After James hung up, he found me in Lily's nursery, rocking her gently as she slept. You heard? He asked quietly. I nodded. They think this is about punishment. They still don't understand. What are you going to do? I looked down at our perfect, healthy daughter. What cosmic lottery had given us this gift while my brother faced such heartbreak? For a moment, I considered reaching out, offering financial help if nothing else. Then I remembered my wedding day, the half-empty reception, my father's tears, not for me, but for the blue smoke at Jason's gender reveal. Years of being overlooked, minimized, expected to accommodate, the casual cruelty of scheduling their celebration on the one day that should have been mine alone. Nothing, I finally answered. I'm going to do nothing. James didn't judge me. He knew better than anyone what my family had put me through. Still, that night I lay awake wondering if I'd become as callous as they had been. The next morning, I transferred $10,000 to Nathan's GoFundMe. Anonymously, compassion for an innocent child didn't require reopening wounds that had finally begun to heal. 2 weeks later, Leah called again. They're losing everything, she said without preamble. Jason and Amanda had to move back in with their parents. The medical bills keep mounting. Your mom had to come out of retirement to work part-time at the library just to help with expenses. I could hear what she wasn't saying. They need you. They're suffering. Isn't this enough? I'm sorry they're going through this, I said, meaning it. No child should suffer, and no parent should watch their child in pain. So you'll reach out? I closed my eyes, seeing not my brother's current struggles, but the lifetime of moments where my needs had been secondary to his. No, I said firmly. I wish them healing, but my absence from their lives isn't temporary, it's permanent. As I hung up, I felt no vindication, no satisfaction in their suffering. Just a quiet certainty that I had made the right choice for myself and my new family. The karmic wheel had turned, but I took no pleasure in its rotation. I had simply stepped off the ride altogether. 2 years passed in a comfortable rhythm of firsts. Lily's first steps, first words, first tantrum. Seattle became truly home, its rainy winters and stunning summers marking the seasons of our new life. My career flourished. I made partner at the marketing firm and carved out a reputation for campaigns that pulled heartstrings while driving sales. The letters and calls from my family gradually tapered off. My mother's birthday cards arrived like clockwork, now accompanied by updates about Nathan, who had survived his surgeries but faced ongoing health challenges. I read each one, sometimes with tears, but never responded. Then came the invitation I couldn't easily decline, my cousin Megan's wedding in Portland. Not just any cousin, but the one who'd stood by me during my own wedding drama, who had deliberately missed Jason's gender reveal to stay at my reception. She'd remained neutral in the family Cold War, respecting my distance while never cutting ties herself. Please come, she said during our rare phone call. I'd love to have Lily as my flower girl, And I promise I won't seat you anywhere near Jason or your parents. After discussing it with James, I agreed. We would attend the ceremony and reception, then return to Seattle immediately after. A surgical strike of social obligation. The morning of Megan's wedding dawned clear and warm. Lily, now a chattering 2.5-year-old, twirled in her flower girl dress, blissfully unaware of the family dynamic she was about to enter. "Remember," James said as we pulled into the church parking lot, "we can leave anytime. Just give me the signal." I nodded, scanning the arriving guests for familiar faces. My stomach twisted when I spotted my parents helping an older aunt from her car. They hadn't seen me yet. I wondered if they would recognize me. My hair was shorter now, highlighted to cover early grays, and motherhood had softened my once angular face. We slipped into the church through a side entrance, finding Megan in the bridal suite. "Emma!" she cried, hugging me fiercely. "You actually came! And this must be Lily. Oh my God, she looks just like you." The ceremony went smoothly. Lily scattered rose petals with surprising decorum, and I managed to avoid direct eye contact with my family despite feeling their stares burning into my back. During the receiving line, I kept conversations brief and impersonal, deflecting questions about Seattle and motherhood with practiced vagueness. It was during the reception that the inevitable finally happened. I was at the bar getting Lily some apple juice when Jason appeared beside me, looking like a ghost of his former self. Gone was the confident swagger, the golden boy glow. The man beside me seemed smaller somehow, with new lines etched around his eyes and a weariness that aged him beyond his years. "Emma," he said, his voice catching. "I wasn't sure you'd come." I handed Lily her juice box before turning to face him. "Megan's special to me." He nodded, awkwardly shifting his weight. "Your daughter is beautiful." "Thank you." The silence stretched between us, heavy with everything unsaid. I could have walked away then, maintained the wall I'd built. But something, curiosity perhaps, or the final need for closure, kept me rooted in place. "How's Nathan?" I asked finally. Relief flooded his face at the conversational lifeline. "Better. The last surgery went well. The doctors think he won't need another one for at least a few years." He pulled out his phone, showing me a photo of a smiling toddler with my brother's eyes. "He's a fighter." "I'm glad," I said, meaning. Jason pocketed his phone, then looked at me directly. "Emma, what happened to us? We used to be close when we were kids. How did it come to this?" The audacity of his question nearly took my breath away. "You really don't know? The wedding? Emma, it was just a party." "It was never just about the party, Jason." I cut him off, keeping my voice low but intense. "It was about a lifetime of me being treated as an afterthought. The party was just the final proof I needed." He had the decency to look ashamed. "I never meant to hurt you. That's the problem. You never even considered me enough to realize you were hurting me. None of you did." Jason glanced across the room, where our parents were entertaining Lily, clearly desperate to connect with their only grandchild. "They're different now. We all are. Nathan's condition, the financial struggles, it changed us, made us realize what really matters." "I'm sorry it took that for you to learn the lesson," I replied. "But my boundaries aren't punishment, they're protection. Can't you forgive us? Start over?" His voice cracked. "We need you, Emma. Not just financially, though God knows we could use the help. But as family. I miss my sister." I studied his face, searching for manipulation but finding only genuine regret. For a fleeting moment, I imagined reconciliation. Sunday dinners, shared holidays, Lily knowing her grandparents and cousin. Then I remembered the empty tables at my wedding reception. The years of being sidelined. The way they only reached out when they needed something from me. "You had me for 29 years, Jason," I said quietly. "You had all that time to value me, to see me as equal to you in our family's eyes. You didn't, and now you want my help, my forgiveness, my presence, not because you've genuinely changed, but because life got hard and you need a safety net." "That's not fair," he protested weakly. "Isn't it? Tell me, if Nathan had been born healthy, if you still had your job and your perfect life, would you have reached out? Would you have acknowledged how you hurt me?" His silence was answer enough. I gathered Lily from my parents with polite but firm efficiency, ignoring my mother's tearful attempts at conversation. As we prepared to leave, Jason approached one last time, desperation evident in his voice. Emma, please. What can I do? How can I make this right? I looked at him, really looked at him, and felt the last knot of anger inside me finally unravel, repulsed, not with forgiveness, but with freedom. You made your choice 2 years ago, I said simply, and I made mine. The difference is, I can live with mine. Walking away, my daughter's hand in mine, and my husband by my side, I felt no triumph, no vindication, just peace. My wedding day had indeed been tainted by betrayal, but it had given me something invaluable, the courage to build a life where I would never be second best again. Some bridges, once burned, aren't meant to be rebuilt. Some lessons come too late. And some forms of revenge aren't about making others suffer, but about refusing to suffer yourself any longer.